They threw my suitcase onto the porch and slammed the door. "Get out! We need space for Madison!" my parents shouted as if I was a stranger. For years, I believed the lie, that I was weak, disposable, unworthy of love. My sister became their shining star, paraded online as the perfect daughter, while I was erased from every photo, every memory. But what they never knew, every dollar they flaunted, every card they swiped, every house they claimed, was under my name. The night their empire cracked, I stopped being invisible. I wasn't broken. I was just awakening. The world thought we were perfect. Scroll through my parents' Facebook and you'd see carefully staged dinners matching holiday sweaters and captions dripping with fake warmth. Family is everything. Madison, my younger sister, was always in the center of those photographs, framed by the glow of candles and smiling faces. Her followers adored her. "She's such an inspiration," they wrote under every post. And me? I was often cropped out or shoved to the edge of the frame like a guest who didn't belong. I wasn't just erased online. I was erased in real life. At the dinner table, my father always asked Madison about her plans, her dreams, her ambitions. "Tell us about your project, sweetheart," he'd say with pride bursting from his chest. When it was my turn to speak, the air shifted, eyes averted. Forks clinked against plates. If I tried to share something, my mother would cut me off. "That's nice, Evelyn, but let's focus on Madison. She has real potential." Real. I learned to swallow words before they left my mouth. Silence became safer than rejection. Madison basked in the spotlight. She had a natural talent for performing to an audience, especially one online. She curated her life as if it were a show: new clothes, glamorous dinners, rented cars presented as her own. Behind the scenes, it was all funded by accounts that somehow, mysteriously, kept draining under my name. But at the time, I didn't know that. At the time, I thought she was just lucky, born with the golden touch that I lacked. Then came the day my parents sat me down in the living room. Madison was on the couch, lounging like a queen. My father cleared his throat. "Evelyn," he began, "we think it's time you moved out." My heart sank. "What? Why?" He exchanged a glance with my mother, who looked away as if embarrassed. "We need more space," she said softly. "Madison's career is taking off, and she needs room to focus." The words hit harder than a slap. I wasn't just unwanted, I was being removed like clutter, shoved aside for the rising star. Madison smirked, eyes glued to her phone, recording some video I wasn't included in. "I don't understand," I whispered. "This is my home too." "No," my father corrected sharply. "This is Madison's time. You're strong, Evelyn. You can manage on your own now. This is for the best." I stared at him, then at my mother, searching for any sign of doubt. But their faces were firm, resolved. It wasn't a request. It was an eviction cloaked in parental concern. That night, I packed a suitcase. As I zipped it shut, I noticed my bank app flashing with new notifications. Several transactions I didn't recognize. Designer brands. Restaurants I had never set foot in. Thousands of dollars gone. My chest tightened. I thought it must be a mistake. Maybe the bank made an error. I promised myself I would call them in the morning. But deep down, something twisted in my gut. As I dragged my suitcase to the porch, my father stood in the doorway, holding the knob like a guard keeping me out. My mother avoided my eyes, arms crossed. Madison recorded a selfie video, giggling about her new studio space. None of them noticed my tears. None of them cared. "Good luck, Evelyn," my father said flatly. The door slammed before I could reply. Standing on the porch, suitcase at my feet, I felt like the ground had disappeared. I wanted to scream, to pound on the door, to beg for recognition. Instead, I stood frozen, numb. The night air was cold. The street lamp cast long shadows across the driveway, stretching toward me like accusing fingers. I lifted my suitcase and walked away, my shoes crunching against gravel. But something shifted inside me that night. For the first time, I stopped begging for a place in their story. Maybe I was invisible to them. Maybe I was disposable in their eyes. But I wasn't gone. I wasn't finished. I moved into a cramped apartment with peeling paint and humming pipes. The silence was heavy, but it was mine. I sat on the mattress, scrolling through Madison's latest post, her smiling face under a caption, "Chasing dreams supported by the best family ever." The likes poured in, hearts and praises stacking under her photo. And there I was, erased once again. I closed the app. The truth was burning inside me, though I didn't yet know its full shape. I only knew this. Their golden cage wasn't built for me. It was built to keep me out. And cages, no matter how pretty, can break. The weeks after I left felt like walking through fog. I tried to piece together a new rhythm, waking up in the peeling walled apartment, eating cheap takeout, scrolling through job boards. Yet every corner of the internet reminded me of the family I had been cut from. Madison's face was everywhere, her Instagram stories filled with champagne glasses clinking, sparkling dresses, captions about hard work paying off. Comments flooded in. "You're such an icon. Wish I had your life." Each word was another dagger twisting inside me. I wanted to believe she had earned it, that maybe I really was the useless sister my parents described. But then the notifications from my bank app returned, one after another. Luxury stores, hotels in cities I hadn't visited, car rentals under my name. At first, I thought it was fraud. I called the bank. The representative on the phone hesitated, then explained, "These charges are tied to accounts linked with your family's address." My blood ran cold. It wasn't fraud. It was them. The realization cut deeper than any insult. My family hadn't just cast me aside. They were draining me dry, using me as their invisible wallet. I confronted my mother over the phone. "Mom, there are charges, thousands of dollars in my name. Do you know anything about this?" Her voice carried a sigh, heavy with irritation rather than guilt. "Evelyn, don't start. You're overreacting. We're just borrowing until Madison gets on her feet. Family supports each other." Borrowing. That word tasted like poison. "What about my feet?" I snapped. "What about me?" "You're strong," she replied, the same refrain she had used to shove me out. "You'll manage." The call ended with me shaking, staring at the dark ceiling of my apartment. They didn't see me as family. They saw me as a resource, a body to strip for parts. Online, the narrative grew uglier. Madison began dropping subtle digs in her posts, captions like, "Some people just can't handle success, and jealousy is so obvious." Friends, even distant relatives, messaged me less. When I tried reaching out, the replies were clipped, awkward. It was as if Madison had built a stage where she shined and cast me as the villain lurking in the shadows. One night, I joined a live stream Madison was hosting. She twirled in a sequined dress, laughing into the camera. "This is all thanks to my amazing parents," she said, tilting her glass. "Some people in the family couldn't keep up, but that's okay. Not everyone is meant to succeed." The comments exploded with sympathy for her. "You're right. Haters gonna hate. Cut toxic people out." And she smiled, as if she hadn't just cut me out entirely. My chest burned, my hands trembling as I typed a comment. "That's my money you're spending." I hovered over the send button, then deleted it. No one would believe me. Not yet. Days turned into nights filled with restless pacing, rereading bank statements, highlighting transactions. I kept every document, stuffing them into a folder. Somewhere inside, a thought began to take shape. Evidence. Proof. If they wouldn't acknowledge my existence as a daughter, they would see me as the owner of every asset they paraded online. The poison spread further. My father called, not to check on me, but to demand. "Evelyn, there's paperwork that needs your signature. Don't delay." "What paperwork?" I asked cautiously. "Just routine, for the house." I paused, pen in hand, reading the legal jargon. A loan, a massive one, and my name plastered all over as guarantor. "You want me to sign this?" My voice cracked. "Yes," he said sharply. "Family sacrifices for each other. Madison needs this for her business." I nearly laughed. "Business?" She didn't own a business. She owned a facade. "I won't do it," I whispered. His tone turned icy. "Don't forget who raised you. Don't be ungrateful." The line went dead, but the echo of his words stayed. Ungrateful. As if I hadn't already given everything. That night, sitting at the tiny table in my apartment, I stared at the folder of bank statements, contracts, and proof. For the first time, anger began to overtake despair. If I stayed silent, the poison would consume me entirely, but if I spoke, if I acted, the truth could burn the entire illusion to the ground. I looked at the screen of my phone, Madison's perfect smile flashing across a new post. She was standing in front of a car I had technically bought. The caption read, "Hard work pays off. Don't let anyone drag you down." The likes climbed. The hearts poured in. The world cheered for her. But the truth was mine. And the truth was patient. The night of the gala arrived like a storm I could feel in my bones. Madison had announced it online weeks earlier, a celebration of success, family, and the future. Invitations went out to influencers, business contacts, and neighbors who had long envied the Parker family's polished life. My feed was saturated with hashtags, countdowns, behind-the-scenes clips of my sister getting fitted for gowns. The city buzzed with anticipation, ready to witness another performance in the ongoing show that was my family's facade. I wasn't invited. Of course not. My parents had cut me out of the narrative completely, yet I couldn't resist following the live updates. Sitting in my apartment, lights off, phone in hand, I watched their world unfold through glowing screens. The ballroom glittered under chandeliers. Madison posed against a backdrop of roses and gold lettering spelling "Dream Big." Cameras flashed. She bathed in the attention, basking as if she were royalty. My parents flanked her, proud and radiant, their masks polished to perfection. The live stream captured laughter, glasses raised in toasts, music swelling. Comment after comment scrolled across. Goals? Queen? Such a supportive family. Each word made my throat tighten. I felt like I was suffocating. I almost turned it off. And then, it happened. The host announced a round of gratitude speeches. Madison beamed, clutching the microphone. "I couldn't have done any of this without my amazing parents," she gushed, her voice trembling with faux humility. The crowd applauded, cameras zoomed in. "They've given me everything, sacrificed so much, and tonight I'm honored to share this journey with them." My father, brimming with pride, swiped his card at the bar to order champagne for the entire room. The camera lingered as the bartender waited for approval. A few seconds passed, then another. The screen displayed the word no one expected. Declined. The sound of the ballroom shifted, an uncomfortable murmur, laughter faltering, eyes darting. My father tried again, swiping with force, muttering to the bartender. Again. Declined. My mother's smile cracked, her eyes darting toward the cameras still rolling. Madison's laughter died, replaced by a stiffness in her jaw. The comments exploded across the live stream. "Wait, what? Did his card just get declined? Is this part of the show?" My heart pounded as I watched. The mask was slipping, the illusion unraveling right in front of the world. The host tried to smooth it over, offering a nervous chuckle. "Technology, am I right?" But the damage was done. The live stream kept rolling, and the internet feasted on every second. Madison, desperate to recover, pulled out her own card with a flourish. She swiped, her eyes glancing toward the camera, as if daring it to fail her too. Seconds ticked by. Declined. The room fell silent. The roses, the gowns, the champagne, all of it suddenly looked cheap under the weight of embarrassment. I sat frozen in my apartment, a twisted mix of vindication and sorrow flooding through me. They had built their empire on my back, and now it was crumbling before everyone's eyes. The comments scrolled faster. "Is she broke? This is so awkward. Exposed." Madison's hand trembled as she set the card down. My mother leaned in, whispering furiously, while my father gestured sharply toward a manager. The live stream cut abruptly, a sudden blackout. But the damage couldn't be undone. Thousands had already seen. Screenshots were flooding Twitter, TikTok, everywhere. The Golden family was tarnished. I set the phone down, staring into the darkness of my room. For a brief moment, I felt triumph, a bitter taste, sharp and metallic. Yet beneath it was a hollow ache. These were still my parents, my sister. I wanted justice, but watching them unravel left me trembling. The phone buzzed. A text lit up the screen. "You think this is funny?" It was from Madison. "We know what you've been doing. You'll regret this." My chest tightened. She blamed me already, even though I hadn't lifted a finger. They had poisoned themselves, yet I was still the scapegoat. Hours later, my father called. His voice was no longer authoritative, but frantic. "Evelyn, you need to help us fix this. People are talking. We can't let them think we're ruined. Sign the papers, give us access. We're family." Family. That word, once sacred, now sounded like a chain clinking shut. I whispered back, "You never wanted me as family. You wanted me as fuel." The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. Then he shouted, anger breaking through desperation. "Ungrateful! We gave you everything and this is how you repay us?" The line cut, leaving me in the dark with my racing heart. I pressed my palms against my face, tears slipping between my fingers. I wasn't celebrating. I wasn't laughing. I was grieving the truth I could no longer deny. The family I once begged to belong to never really wanted me. The illusion was shattered, and with it, so was the last piece of innocence I had clung to. I spent days drowning in silence after the gala, the weight of humiliation crushing me even though I hadn't stepped foot in that ballroom. Their downfall was public, but my pain was private, curled up inside an apartment that smelled of dust and loneliness. The tears wouldn't stop, not at first. Yet, somewhere in the middle of the sobbing, in the stillness of the night, a thought began to form. What if it wasn't me? I typed the words into a search bar. Families who scapegoat one child. Thousands of results poured in. Articles, forums, survivor stories. I clicked one, then another, and suddenly I was lost in a world that mirrored my own. The phrase repeated like a knife slicing through fog. Narcissistic family dynamics. I read about golden children, scapegoats, parents who fed off control and shame. Each paragraph felt like a mirror held up to my life. For years, I thought I was weak. For years, I believed their words, that I was disposable, unworthy, less than my sister. But these strangers online, people who had lived the same nightmare, wrote the truth. It wasn't weakness, it was manipulation. It wasn't that I had failed. It was that I had been targeted. My chest tightened, but this time, not from despair. From rage. It started as a flicker, then grew into fire, hot and unrelenting. Every memory of being cropped out of photos, silenced at the dinner table, forced out of my own home. It all came rushing back, fueling me. The anger didn't scare me. It steadied me. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't drowning. I was climbing, gripping the jagged walls with bloodied hands, but climbing nonetheless. Knowledge was power. And I was about to weaponize it. I closed the laptop and began gathering everything. Every receipt, every unexplained transaction, every screenshot of Madison flaunting possessions I had unknowingly paid for. I organized it in folders, neat stacks on my kitchen table. A crime scene laid bare, except the victim was me. Still, anger wasn't enough. I needed strategy. I scheduled a consultation with a lawyer. The office smelled of leather and paper, walls lined with degrees and accolades. The lawyer, a woman with sharp eyes and sharper instincts, listened quietly as I spilled the story. They used my accounts, my name, my credit. They're drowning in debt that isn't theirs. It's mine on paper. She leaned back, steepling her fingers. Not if we move quickly. You're the legal owner of the assets. We can restructure. Protect what's left in a trust. Seal it from their hands. The words settled into me like armor. Protection. Boundaries. Safety. Things I had never been given by my family, but could finally create for myself. We filed papers. Step by step, I began reclaiming control. I opened new accounts, secured passwords, redirected mail. I documented everything. Madison's videos where she bragged about vacations, each outfit tagged with brands my statements proved she hadn't paid for. Every post became evidence. At night, exhaustion pressed heavy on me, but I refused to crumble. The rage had transformed into purpose. Still, I knew my family. They thrived on the illusion that I was weak, broken, defeated. If they suspected otherwise, they would strike harder, find new ways to corner me. So I played the role they had written for me. I answered their calls in a tired voice. Let them believe I was struggling to pay rent. Let them imagine I was collapsing under the weight of isolation. It was a mask, but this time it was mine. Behind it, I built walls, laid traps, and sharpened blades of truth. I looked at Madison's latest post, her smile stretched wide under chandelier light, the caption reading, "Rising above the noise." Comments adored her still. They believed the lie, the image of perfection. I closed the screen with steady hands. Let them cheer for her. Let them laugh at me. They thought I was broken. I was only loading. The invitation spread across the city like wildfire. A grand evening, a chance to reintroduce the Parker family after the humiliation of the last gala. Madison's team framed it as a rebirth, a night to prove that setbacks were only stepping stones. Influencers hyped it up, sponsors cautiously tested the waters again, and the public, always hungry for drama, waited to see whether the Parkers could polish their golden mask once more. I wasn't invited. I didn't need to be. By then, I had something more powerful than an invitation. Truth, bound tightly in the folder I carried beneath my arm. The ballroom glittered as before, chandeliers reflecting off crystal glasses, laughter echoing too loudly, forced and brittle. Madison stood radiant in a silver gown, striking poses for cameras as my parents hovered nearby, their smiles plastered on like paint cracking under heat. The live stream had already begun, thousands tuning in, hearts floating across screens. I entered quietly, unnoticed at first. The guards didn't stop me. I looked too calm, too certain. I walked through the crowd, the folder in my hand, until I reached the edge of the stage. Conversations faltered as eyes turned toward me, then toward my parents, whose faces drained of color. Madison's smile froze mid-pose. "Evelyn," my mother whispered, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "This is not the time." "It's the perfect time," I answered. My voice didn't tremble. I stepped onto the stage, placing the folder on the podium. Cameras shifted, lenses zoomed in. The live stream audience surged. "For years," I began, "you've seen a family presented as flawless, a golden child adored, a life envied. But tonight, you deserve to know what lies beneath the surface." Gasps rippled through the room. Madison tried to snatch the microphone, but I slid the first document from the folder, a bank statement. I held it up. "These are the transactions made in my name. Every designer dress, every lavish dinner, every car Madison showed off online, they were never hers. They were mine. My accounts drained to fund their illusion." The crowd stirred, phones lifted higher, capturing every word. I spread more papers, loan applications, contracts, all with my name forged under their ambitions. "They built their empire on lies," I said, my voice gaining strength. "And when the truth threatened to surface, they blamed me, called me ungrateful, cast me out, but I wasn't the weak one. I was the one holding the foundation they stood on." The live stream comments exploded. "Is this real? Receipts don't lie. Exposed." My father lunged forward, hissing, "Shut this down, Evelyn." I turned toward the cameras, ignoring him. "You called her a golden child, but what do you call someone who builds her shine from theft? What do you call a family that sacrifices their own to maintain appearances?" Madison's mask shattered under the lights. She reached for the mic, voice shrill. "She's lying. She's jealous. None of this is true." I smiled, not cruelly, but with the calm of someone who no longer feared shadows. From the folder, I drew the final blow. Video clips stitched together of Madison bragging online, captions flaunting purchases, side by side with receipts proving I had paid, side by side with dates, amounts, signatures, evidence undeniable. The room fell into stunned silence. The live stream erupted. The internet crowned their golden child, a fraud. Sponsors watching remotely pulled their deals within hours. Contracts dissolved. By the next morning, headlines screamed, "Madison Parker exposed. The fall of the golden child." Her phone buzzed endlessly with dropped collaborations, brand cancellations, messages from fans who now called her a liar. Madison tried to fight it, posting shaky videos about misunderstandings. But the internet is merciless. Her follower count plummeted, her influence cracked. Behind closed doors, my parents turned on each other. My father shouted blame, my mother wept, Madison screamed, the house that once glittered with false unity now echoing with chaos. Their empire, built on lies and exploitation, crumbled from the inside. Meanwhile, the online world turned its gaze toward me. Strangers flooded my messages with support. "You're brave. The real owner. Finally, justice." My name trended alongside hers, but for the first time, I wasn't the shadow. I wasn't invisible. Yet, I didn't bask in it. I didn't dance in victory. I stayed quiet, watching from my small apartment, sipping water as the world tore down the illusion that had once destroyed me. And yet, the sweetest victory was silence. The fallout came swiftly. Within days of the gala, the Parker name, once polished, envied, and admired, became synonymous with scandal. News outlets replayed the live stream footage of my father's declined card and Madison's frantic denial on a loop. Commentators dissected every detail of the evidence I'd shown. My parents' neighbors, once quick to boast about living near them, now whispered about fraud and betrayal. Madison's glittering world collapsed, not with a dramatic explosion, but with the steady unraveling of credibility. I didn't need to lift another finger. Their empire was burning itself down. My father's associates pulled away, refusing to take his calls. My mother's friends stopped responding, unwilling to be dragged into the fire. Even Madison's loyal followers abandoned her, some turning into critics who mocked the very posts they once adored. The cruelest part wasn't my doing. It was the very stage they had built, now weaponized against them by the audience they had courted. Meanwhile, something unexpected happened. My phone began to buzz with messages from extended family members, people who had remained silent all these years. An aunt I barely knew wrote, "We're sorry, Evelyn. We see now what you endured." Cousins reached out with apologies, admitting they had believed the facade, never questioning the favoritism. Their words couldn't erase the past, but they offered something new: acknowledgement. For the first time in my life, I was not invisible to them. I was seen. And in that recognition, I felt the quiet arrival of justice. Not the sharp, vengeful kind I once fantasized about, but a softer justice, one that grew naturally when lies collapsed under their own weight. My family had poisoned me for years, yet now they drank from their own cup. But justice wasn't my ending, it was my beginning. I stood at a crossroads. I could disappear into anonymity, let the world move on, bury myself in the peace of obscurity. Or I could take what I had learned, the scars, the pain, the resilience, and build something new, something mine. I chose the latter. I began small, speaking in online forums where I had once been just another faceless survivor. I shared my story, not just the scandal, but the years of silence, the gaslighting, the slow erosion of identity. My words resonated. Strangers reached out. That's my life, too. I thought I was alone. The more I wrote, the more I realized the truth of it all. I wasn't just surviving my family. I was helping others survive theirs. From there, doors opened. Podcasts invited me to speak. Organizations asked me to contribute. I was no longer Evelyn Parker, the forgotten daughter. I became Evelyn Parker, the woman who turned her pain into a weapon of hope. Financially, I was secure. The trust my lawyer helped me establish grew, protected from the greedy hands that once tried to strip me bare. I invested carefully. built a foundation not of appearances, but of stability. For the first time, I felt safe not because someone else granted it to me, but because I had created it for myself, and I wasn't alone anymore. Slowly, I built what I now call my chosen family, friends who saw me, respected me, celebrated me without needing me to disappear for their light to shine. We shared dinners in small kitchens, laughter that wasn't staged, photographs that didn't crop anyone out. They weren't perfect, but they were real. In quiet moments, I thought about my parents in Madison. I wondered if they ever sat in their crumbling house, staring at the shards of their broken illusion. Part of me still ached for the love I never received, but another part, stronger, steadier, understood that I couldn't heal in the place that hurt me. Their downfall was not my closure. My life beyond them was. One evening, I sat at my desk, rereading the first piece I had ever written about my story. My words back then dripped with anger, pain, and confusion. But as I read them now, I smiled. They weren't the end of me. They were the proof that even at my lowest, I had kept reaching for something better. I closed the laptop and looked around my apartment. It wasn't grand. The walls still bore old cracks. The pipes still hummed. But it was mine. Every inch of it spoke of freedom. The greatest revenge is not revenge. It's living free.